Is Tyler Shough the answer in New Orleans? All right, ladies and gentlemen, 33rd team is the backdrop. But also, Nick Underhill is going to join them on this video, which is the real reason I want to watch this, to see what this trio has to say about the Tyler Shough situation. So let's go ahead and get into it. It's a long video. It's 28 minutes. If y'all know how I am, stopping and starting. This could be an hour and a half long video. Who the hell even knows? Let's get into it.
News yesterday, the New Orleans Saints officially benching Spencer Rattler, going with Tyler Shough, the rookie second rounder out of Louisville. And who better to break it down than Nick Underhill, who's on the Saints beat, knows it all, has his own van where he reports directly from right outside practice. New Orleans football. Nick, welcome to the show, and tell everybody where you're from, what you're doing, and promote all your stuff, man.
Go ahead.
Great.
Yeah,
This is where he'll probably give me a shout out if I had to guess.
cover the one-win Saints. It's the most important thing in the world every single day, all day. Podcast channel, breaking it down, all the analysis, all the news. Not a lot of fun right now watching this team, but at least they're interesting. You know, that you have the new quarterback situation, and then possibly the pursuit of the number one pick if they don't win the. They kind of got the NIT tournament coming up here in the back half of the season, playing the Dolphins, the Titans, and the Jets for the number one pick. So it's kind of like relegation in the Premier League, I guess, in the back half of the season. So at least the Saints season isn't totally boring, but not a lot of good football being played right now.
All right, maybe he could have just forgot, I guess, to shout me out. I mean, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. I would have shouted him out, of course. But one thing I'll say about the season, and it is a real Pandora's box, if you will, ladies and gentlemen, okay? The Saints are horrible. The actual level of play on the field is despicable, and it makes me want to vomit all over myself. But like Nick said, and like we've said before, they aren't boring. Like, this is not a boring situation. Off season was nuts with the coaching search, Derek Carr retiring, top 10 pick, like just that alone, okay? But then you even get further into new head coach, Derek Carr retiring, top 10 pick, new defensive coordinator, all of that, right? Then you have the draft. You have 9 picks, so a full-on draft class. Now you have the quarterback battle, or whatever, however you want to phrase it, with Shough and Rattler. You've got Kellen Moore's first season as an NFL head coach, the youngest coach in the NFL. And whether, we can't really say the exact pick, but more than likely, we're looking at a top 5 pick, top 3 pick, possibly the first overall pick. I mean, this team, even when they're bad, it could be worse. We could be covering a lot of these other teams that are just boring as hell, or they're just got nothing going on. But this team, it's got stuff going on.
Relegation 6-pointers. That's what they call it.
I love that. Since we preview every game, it's right around this time of year we're previewing those teams, the Saints, the Jets. We're like, Dante Moore's playing this weekend in a big, it's like, what should you watch? Maybe some of the college quarterbacks, which I do want to get.
Oh, I've said that before. I say, if you want to find out what players, because people ask me all the time, should we go sign MVS? Should we go sign Ray McLeod? It's like, listen, brother, if you want to see the players who are going to help the Saints, watch on Saturday, because that's where they're at. They are in college, and they are yet to be drafted.
Get to in a second. So Tyler Shough officially named the starter. Were you surprised at how this all went down? Like, what went into this decision here for the Saints?
I'm not gonna lie, like, it kind of shocked me how it happened. I wasn't expecting it to be like in the middle of a game. I thought it would be maybe a ramp up. Maybe we'd hear he took 15 snaps with the starters this week, and then going into the Panthers game, I thought maybe that was the date where we'd see it. He hasn't practiced with the starters the whole entire season, so it was just kind of like, we need a spark, and they threw him out there. And I didn't expect it to play out like that, and especially because a lot of the stuff they've been doing this season hasn't been all in on just trying to get a win at all costs. Like, Blake Grupe struggled making kicks, but they believe in him, so they've let him kick through it, even though he's missed kicks, I think, in 6 games now this season. And just kind of that ideal married with the idea of like, hey, just throw the quarterback in there for a spark. It surprised me, but I mean, once you do it, that's it. Like, I wasn't surprised yesterday when the decision came out. It felt like once you make that move, you got to ride with it, because you're just going to make it a bigger mess if you try to go back and forth. You're going to create fractions in the locker room. I mean, there's Shough guys, there's Rattler guys, and like I think if you just fan those flames, like it just gets ugly. So they're here now.
What surprised me, or let's back up. I don't think this move was made just to get a spark. I mean, it certainly was at a certain level or whatever, but this isn't like, look, we're going all in to beat the Rams. Like, I mean, you could get Kerry Collins, you could get Bobby Hebert, you could get, whoever you want to play quarterback. They're probably not going to win that game. So this is not the game where it's like, look, back's against the wall. We got to win it. You got to have it. Arguably, that game was the Tampa game, where it's like, all right, look, first divisional game, we're back at home. If you got to have it, that's probably where you got to have it. Not saying we had to have it when the season was already sunk, but I think this is more of, and this is a little like life lesson for you, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of the times, like, people delay putting off a big decision or even like a decision that's like breaking up with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? It's like, if you know you got to do it, but it's like, man, I don't feel like doing it. It sucks. It's going to suck. Like, I might as well just wait a little bit. And you wait until the perfect time, or you wait until it's easiest for both of you, or whatever. A lot of the times in life, if a difficult decision has to be made and you know it has to be made, you might as well make it now. Delaying does nothing for you. So I think the Bucs game, I think in that situation, Rattler was on E. There was nothing else he could do. It was ugly. He was lost in the sauce. So they bench him. They play Shough. I think after that game, they realized what the decision was going to be. Whether it was against Carolina, whether it was against Atlanta after the bye, whether it was in the second half against the Rams, I think they knew we're going to go to Shough. And the conversation probably was, is there any reason we should delay going to Shough? Now, in the back of the class, what would be those reasons? The first reason you may think of is to give Rattler another chance, right? Maybe he can get his way out of it. Well, maybe, but then that's just kind of delaying the inevitability of going to Shough, right? At that moment, they know we are going to go to Shough eventually. So if you say, well, let's let Rattler play. Well, why? Right? In the grand scheme of things, why? So that's what I think happened. And that's why I think they just said, you know what? We got to do this eventually. Let's do it now. And they just ripped the Band-Aid off, and now it's Tyler Shough time. And I also agree, if you do turn to Shough, you might as well just say, we're going to Shough. Like, he's our quarterback. Let's roll. If he's so bad, you got to take him out and put Rattler back in. You can cross that bridge when you get there. But if he's just the same-ish, whatever, somewhere in that neighborhood, a little bit better, a little bit worse, somewhere there, he's playing for the rest of the season.
We're going to see how it goes. I think they had to find out. We just mentioned where they're at. They draft today. They're picking first. Like, you have to know what you have in the building. But I was definitely surprised how it happened. And, man, it was like that New England game hit, and it was, oh, man, like, is there something here? Could he build on this? And then 2 weeks later, it's over that quick. I'm really surprised by the timeline on this.
Take us back to the preseason training camp, all that kind of time. Yeah. My read on that whole situation was, Tyler Shough drafted where he was. I think they kind of expected or wanted him to win that job. And then at no point in preseason and training camp did it look like that was really going to happen. They gave him every opportunity, and eventually they just went, okay, fine, we basically have to go with Rattler. And then Rattler actually played pretty well to start the season. And all of a sudden, we were having conversations about how, look, it's early, it's only a few games, but Rattler might make this an interesting discussion by the end of the season if he keeps playing this way. And then obviously he just internally did not have that kind of rope. They were like, the second he started playing badly, the rug got pulled out from under him, and we went with Shough. But is that an accurate read by your interpretation? Was this supposed to be Shough's job, and then, Rattler, the combination of Shough not earning it and Rattler playing pretty well, kind of forced their hand?
Pretty much, yeah. I think he nailed it. Like, I think they drafted Shough expecting him to start, expecting him to be the guy. Either Shough wasn't good enough to win it, or Rattler was good enough to win it, or whatever. But kudos to Kellen Moore and his staff that they didn't just say, this is a quarterback competition, wink, wink, and they were just going to go to Shough the whole time. Kudos to them for saying this is a quarterback competition and actually holding themselves to it, to where the better quarterback won. And we got Spencer Rattler. So, yeah, I think it was kind of basically exactly how Sam just laid it out.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, they drafted him at 40, and I felt like they were giving him every opportunity to win that job. That was their guy, their handpicked guy. Rattler was drafted by Dennis Allen. So definitely, I always felt like if it was there, like it was his job to take. I just don't think it got there in training camp. Like he kind of looked exactly like he looked in college. Like the highs were really high, like the arms good. He's aggressive going downfield. He can move a little bit, but like there were the panic plays and some of the mistakes. I hate to use the word goofy, but like he had like goofy mistakes, like the kind of stuff that,
I mean, you saw it in the Buccaneers game where the fourth down, when he got spun around and kind of looked goofy and threw the ball, like basically spiked it like a couple yards down the field when they needed much more than that. Like it's just, yeah, I mean, and that you still see some of that. Not to say that that's going to be there forever or whatever, but you can tell the guy's a rookie and you can tell he's developing, which is fine. I mean, whatever. But 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, longer than that, when they were making this decision, retroactively, it makes sense why they would have went with Rattler there to kind of help Shough to slowly develop, and that happens. It happens with first-round quarterbacks, happens with second-round quarterbacks, where you need a couple of months to just settle down.
There were cameras on it, like it ends up going viral, like that kind of stuff, just under pressure, flinging a ball to somebody, stuff like that. And you saw some of that in college too. I think you even saw some of that on Sunday. Like he's aggressive going down the field. It really felt like some air went into the balloon when he went into the game, and like the range of variances of outcomes just expanded, both good and bad. And it's like, okay, they were 1 for 25 on 3rd and long coming into that game, I believe. And like now suddenly on 3rd down, like you're getting shots down the field a little bit, and that gives you a chance to extend drives. But then like he's under pressure and it just looks like stuff gets sped up, and he's like spinning out of it and flings a sidearm throw out. Like there's a throw that hit a guy in the back. So I think it's just kind of calming him down a little bit, but that's how it looked in camp. I expect, honestly, like over the next few games, I expect mistakes. Like they're playing the Rams this weekend. I don't expect that to be a great game. I think he's going to be someone that like you have to rein back in a little bit, where with Rattler, I think it was kind of like, all right, you're great from 0 to 10 yards. Like, how do you get that 15-yard throw? How do you manufacture an explosive? It's 3rd and 8. Like, how did the Saints get him to throw beyond the sticks? Like, those were the issues they were kind of having. It felt like really tight. And I think part of Rattler's approach to things is just kind of the history of like, he's at Oklahoma, he loses his job, he's here, they draft his replacement. I think he was kind of playing in a manner to where like he was squatting in the house and he was making sure like nobody could evict him. And when it came time to open it up a little bit, like things got a little bit messy. And as soon as it got messy, like they put him out of there. So yeah, I mean, I think in some sense, like there definitely probably was an itchiness to find out what you had with the guy that you went out, you scouted, you picked. And, from my reporting, I think they liked him better than all the quarterbacks except for Cam Moore.
So really quick, I mean, there was that play that Shough had his second to last season where he just kind of literally just panicked, threw it up under pressure. And Sam and I may have mentioned that play too much in the evaluation. It's like, look, there's a lot to like about Tyler Shough, but there's a few plays on film.
Yeah, he's got some Will Levis in him, for sure. I mean, he's got some of those like comical panic mistakes in him that become viral clips. We've seen that a lot. We saw that at the Combine. We saw that in college. We saw that against the Bucks. And Will Levis, it kind of was his undoing because it kind of made Will Levis a meme. But now people are like, well, damn, look at Will Levis' stats compared to Cam Moore. It's like, Will Levis is as good, if not better. But so Shough has to avoid that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Just like Rattler had to avoid the implosion. Rattler, what really was his undoing was that, like, to the degree in which the turnovers happened, like the pick six, like that happening, the 2 fumbles happening back to back. If the Chicago game was game 1, and then you had that long streak of, okay, he's good, he's not turning the ball over, whatever, and then the Bucks game happens, he probably doesn't get benched. But the fact that they happened back to back, and so you had 8 quarters or 6.5 quarters or whatever of just horrible football, and you saw the same things over and over. You saw the Tipton throw against Chicago that was just behind him for a pick. You saw the fumble. Then you see the Bucks game, same exact fumble. You see the pick 6. Like it's just horrible for the optics, and sometimes the optics do play a role in the evaluation.
That are very concerning, the panic plays. Are you saying that those were showing up in training camp quite a bit as well?
I wouldn't say quite a bit, but I mean, there was probably like 3 or 4 of them, which I guess over a course of a month is, a pretty good amount. Definitely they were out there. It was all cut from that same exact cloth. Like, yeah, the play, everybody knows the play. We've all seen the play. Like, and yeah, it was kind of the same thing. It's just like, man, this is happening. Then, okay, how do you correct this? They talk about it, and then it comes back, and like a week later, you see it again. I think that's just kind of going to be something that happens with him. And I think that's going to be what decides whether he's successful or not. Honestly, he's like, it's just that one piece, because I think he can go out there. I think he can play, and he can be viable if you don't want to draft Fernando Mendoza. Like, if you can clean that up, maybe you have a guy there that you can ride with for a year, and then maybe look at the next year of quarterbacks. But yeah, I think that's going to be a tough thing to get rid of. And there were a couple in this game, like, where it's like you're watching them and immediately you're thinking of the clips that you've seen from college that weren't good. And it's just like, you're going to ride the rails like this, huh? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the big thing with him going forward.
We spent a lot of time talking about it, but it's because it's such a confusing thing where you're right. He didn't have that many of them. It's just that the ones that he had were cartoon levels of ridiculous.
Yes.
And the question is, you're talking about kind of getting that. How do you get that out of somebody? Like the one play, the worst one of all of them, was so bad that I genuinely have time for an argument that on its own is disqualifying. Like, if you showed me this play on its own, and even if you told me he's got 3,000 snaps that are really good, and then this one bad play, right? I would have time for an argument that somebody that is capable of that play simply cannot be an NFL quarterback at a high level. But on the flip side of that ledger is, I remember in a playoff game, Josh Allen, face first, falling over, trying to like backhand an offload to a tight end and just turning the ball straight over. And
when Josh Allen first really got into the bigs, he was horrible. He was bad. And I remember watching him. I used to always say, like, when the game got ramped up, it was like his head was on fire. And you hear that all the time, like that, he's playing like his hair is on fire. That's how Josh Allen played. And it was a disaster waiting to happen. And he still kind of plays like that, but much more. I think he understands a bit more of what he can do, a bit more of what he's supposed to do, asked to do, whatever. But at the beginning, it was a real panic. And if Josh Allen was drafted in the 5th round and he had a 2nd-round quarterback behind him, his ass would have been out of the league. But wasn't the case, right? So Tyler Shough, he has to corral that. He cannot be a meme. He cannot have those plays, especially not off the bat. But he's not going to have the same patience, or the franchise isn't going to have the same patience with him as like Josh Allen had in Buffalo. Why? Because the Saints are looking at potentially the 1st overall pick. And they're looking at potentially a top 3 pick. And if whoever has an insane end to the college football season, and Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore or whoever is a can't-miss guy, then they're not going to miss, right? Like, they're going to take them. That's where they're at. That's where this franchise is at. So Shough does have to, and I mean, sometimes it's not nothing he can control, but he does need to avoid those.
Backhand an offload to a tight end and just turning the ball straight over. And now Josh Allen's become, an MVP, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So clearly it's possible to change that kind of thing. Where do you stand on, like, is that something you can get out of him? Is that something that takes 3 years like it did with Josh Allen? Like, that's the tough decision with a guy like Shough.
I'm not like trying to be funny or like it can't take 3 years. He's 26 years old. Like,
yeah.
It kind of has to happen quickly. You got to see it soon. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I think, seeing it in camp kind of made me a little bit worried. I saw it a couple times, and that was enough for me to sit there and be like, is this going to work? But just off of that. And there was a lot of good. Like, his arm is really good. He can run more than I think people probably realize. Like, he's big. Like, he's decent in the pocket at times, except for the times when he just really isn't. And I don't know how you fix that really isn't part of it, but whatever it is, like, it has to happen.
Tyler Shough is one of the most like paradoxical prospects you can possibly imagine. He's a developmental guy, but he's old. He is good athlete, good runner, but then you have the concerns about his injuries. He has an injury history, but they're all breaks. They're not like soft tissue, ACL, repetitive injuries. They're just like ankles and collarbones and whatever else. You know, he has a great arm, but he's also apt to these silly throws. He's a weird prospect. And every time you say, like just like I said it in my last video previewing the Rams Saints game, where it's like, he's going to have to run. They're going to have to call whatever it is, read options or RPOs or however they want to do it. He is going to have design runs. That's part of his game. But then you say, well, what about the injury thing? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. He's going to have to do some of that. You got to kind of go all in with this guy and his set of tools and all of that, because he's not JJ McCarthy. He's not 20 years old. He does not have time to develop, even though he is kind of a raw developmental quarterback. He only really had one season of college football, but he played 7 of them, right? Like, even that, it's like, man, this is crazy. Like, this, how do I even evaluate this? What's going to happen with Shough is they're going to throw everything at the wall and hope it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, more than likely, well, I mean, it depends on the draft class, but if it doesn't stick, they could be taking a quarterback in the top 5. But all you can do because of the compressed time is go all in, put all your chips in the middle of the table, and hope you get some good cards.
Almost immediately. And again, like, I think putting him into this game was kind of unfair. I thought he handled it pretty well considering. But like, you're down in a game against an aggressive pass rush and you're just throwing the guy into the pocket. That panics in the pocket at times and saying, hey, throw the ball, 35 times in 25 minutes of game action. Like, it just did not feel like the best laid plan. And then now rolling him out there for his first real start against the Rams and that pass rush, that doesn't feel like maybe the best way for him to get some success underneath him. Like, I would have done the Panthers game. Then you got the bye week to evaluate it. You come out of it, a bunch of cupcakes, and you got the Bucs again in the back half. Let him get some good tape, good feel going before that. I'm baffled by how this went down just because of that piece of it. Like, I think it's very important for him to build confidence in there and just feel that and then build off of that. But he's going to be
the way that this is going. It makes me believe that this is the burn the boats kind of strategy, where it's, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, we're moving on. Like, this is all in. When you throw him into the Bucs game and then you say your first start's going to be on the road against the Rams, and you know his weaknesses, it's straight up like, look, no time for training wheels. We're going to put you on this bike and send you down this hill. You either figure out how to ride and we're rocking and rolling, or you don't and we're not riding anymore. Like, that's what this feels like to me. It feels like the ultimate sink or swim for the next however many weeks.
Under fire from day one. And look, I wonder, like, I do wonder how he's going to hold up, with Jared Verse coming at him this weekend, because it's going to happen. And they're down their center, and their offensive line, historically, they did okay last week with Fortner standing in there. They traded for him from Jacksonville, but historically, like, they've been really disorganized on the offensive line without Eric McCoy. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this thing holds up this weekend.
So do you believe, Shough, I mean, they spent pick 40, and you said, hey, they really liked him. This was their guy. I know you were one of the first. If we go back before draft time, a lot of people expected Shough Sanders to still go in the top 10. The Saints had pick number 9. I think you were pretty early reporting, hey, he's not going to the Saints at 9. And then pretty early kind of hinting at, was it Jackson Dart and Tyler Shough that they were both in on at 40? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, they liked them both, but I mean, everything I heard was that if they were both there, they were going to take Shough first. Is really how I heard it. And I heard that like way before the pick. That isn't like, oh, this is a guy they ended up with and they wanted him.
No, I remember you saying it.
Stuff go, yeah.
I remember.
I mean, you got to have some questions. We'll see how it plays out with Shough, but if all of that is how it played out and continued to play out, because like Nick said, that was early on in the process. Who knows, when it came time to make the actual pick, they may have softened on Shough or heightened on Dart or whatever. But if it was just straight up from when he was reporting to when the pick was made, that they like Shough over Dart or over whoever else. We'll see how this thing plays out with Shough, but that's an incredible, like nugget of their evaluations, because it's not like they just landed on him. If Dart was there and they say no, we'll take Shough, then we need to see something from Shough. Just to have faith in the evaluation process or whatever they're doing back there.
Whatever you could report on, I remember you hinting at it well before the draft, and that made me think, like, okay, I know the Saints for sure are out on Shough Sanders. I didn't know the whole league was going to be, but I knew the Saints were based off everything you were reporting at the time.
Yeah, that was their guy. And, like, he went in, they kind of had, like, a quiet meeting. I heard, like, the way the meeting went down is basically a lot of times when these guys come in, they meet with, like, everybody, and they kind of go through the car wash, and they try to reach, like, a consensus on the opinion. The way I heard this one went down is, like, he basically came in, went into a room with Kellen Moore. They watched tape. He put him up on the board, and it was just like those two locked in. Shough leaves, and like that was the guy. Like I think they just really liked his maturity, the way he plays, and the fact that he was like hurt throughout his college career and just battled adversity was something that they really liked too, because they felt like he could come in and maybe handle the ups and downs that come with like leading a team through a rebuild. But obviously we got to see if the play warrants that level of faith in it.
Over at New Orleans football, I think you guys did some work on the top draft prospects. So, I mean, when you're covering the Saints, obviously you guys have to, at this point, with a one-win team, have an eye toward the draft. Any early feelings here? You've got Tyler Shough, probably, this is a half-year test. I don't know if they're absolutely – I mean, he's picked 40. Like, are they absolutely committed to him next year?
No.
And then a lot of the quarterbacks that were expected to go in the top 10 next year have not panned out. Any feel for the quarterback class at this time and how in the Saints are going to be as far as evaluating and then putting those quarterbacks up against what Shough's going to do here in the second half?
Yeah, I've been flying out every Saturday to like watch the college QBs and then flying back, on the red eye and then covering the Saints game on Sunday. Just because like it feels like that's where it's at, and these are the conversations we're going to be having, and I want to like make sure I'm actually putting eyes on these guys. I really like Fernando Mendoza.
So Nick put this out about a week or so ago. He had an article at NOF talking about his travels and talking about going and seeing these guys. Bananas level of dedication to the game to do this. I mean, crazy levels of work. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, like I've talked about this before, and this is a sidebar, but the content game, you're competing with the big boys. And I remember 10 years ago, if you're on YouTube, I mean, go look at like Joe Rogan's first couple podcasts. No problem. Do it in your living room. Doesn't matter. Horrible quality, whatever. Stuff just sticks, right? Gaming channels on YouTube some people didn't even have a face cam. It didn't matter, whatever. Now, you better be up to the level of the top media groups, because that's who you're competing with. And kudos to Nick for saying, you know what, I will fly out to Indiana, I will fly out to Oregon, I will fly out to wherever to watch these guys, even though you could just watch it on TV. But he's saying, no, I'm going there. I want my eyes, I want a direct sign to the whole thing. I want to watch this guy, take notes, write a report, whatever, fly back, cover the Saints, all that stuff. Tough, man. Kudos, well done. So, yeah, I mean, that's good stuff.
I really like Fernando Mendoza. Like, he's the guy, if I were picking, like, I would probably make my bet on him. Because, like, I just feel like even the offense they're running, like, it's kind of very similar to the same exact stuff that Kellen Moore's doing. A lot of shotgun, a lot of RPOs. I think he just gives you the best package of, like, size, arm strength, enough running ability. And he just seems kind of put together. I like Dante Moore a lot, but, like, I was at that Oregon game and like the good on good matchup. I don't know if I just caught it on a bad day, but like it just like I wasn't blown away. It just kind of felt like a very punchless performance. There was some good stuff in it, but he's obviously looked really good at other times. I went and watched Ty Simpson recently. I like him quite a bit. The processing seems good. It's just he's smaller, and if I'm like,
yeah, I mean there's a lot of college left to be played, but to me, this feels like one of those quarterback classes where you're trying to force franchise guys. And I'm always hesitant when a player comes out of absolutely nowhere He's on nobody's boards. He's on nobody's radar. He's the 14th quarterback down, and all of a sudden he's supposed to be not only your first overall pick, but like a savior of a franchise. Like, that makes me very, very concerned. And I feel like all these guys are that. All right, before the season, none of these guys were in there. And, you know, they all have kind of warts. Like Simpson, he's like 6'1", maybe something like that, 220 pounds. So he's undersized. Mendoza, again, it's like, is this a flash in the pan? Is this just Indiana being Indiana? Like, are they just producing and he's just part of that process? Dante Moore, same thing. It's like, is this just Oregon quarterback number one? Like, he just happens to be the starting quarterback at Oregon, so okay, he's up there. I don't know, but I'm lukewarm on this quarterback class right now. Very lukewarm.
Pick him first. I don't know. I guess maybe that's a little bit outdated in today's NFL too. Like, you don't necessarily got to be Peyton Manning in the pocket, but you know, the size aspect of that. And I just want to see more. He's like got 8 college starts. You just got to see how it kind of builds for him over time. Today I say I take Mendoza, but like, you know, by the Big Ten SEC championship game time, maybe that flips a little bit. The person I really want to be good is Lenore Sellers. Like
I think this is actually the draft that, because of how weird it is, I think the move, if you want a quarterback, right, you want one of these guys, I think the move is you make your pick at 1 or 2 or 3, and then you trade back up and take whoever. Because you know they're going to be there. You know some of these guys are going to fall, whether it's Mendoza, Simpson, Sellers, Nussmeier, whoever, name your guy. You know they're going to be at the back end of the first round or the high end of the second round. And if you're the first pick in the draft and you're the first pick in the second round, and all of a sudden you can move up 10 spots or whatever, take a quarterback in the low 20s, that's what I think the Saints should do if they want one of these guys. I think it's kind of like the same with the Giants last year. The Giants got Jackson Dart at the perfect spot. Taking Jackson Dart at 3 would have been insane at the time. Would have been nuts. But the move was, we're going to take Abdul Carter, and then we're going to let it play out. And then if our guy is there, we'll trade back up and take him. Some big boards that I've seen are all over the place. I've seen Ty Simpson as the first quarterback. I've seen Mendoza. I've seen Dante Moore. I've seen Mendoza as low as 15. I've seen Sellers as high as 11. So who the hell even knows?
He looks like Superman out there, and it just feels like he needs to learn, like, you know, he might be have the best arm, but I don't know if he's like the best thrower. Like, and I think there's
Sellers to me, he is the prototypical, like, man, if you could bottle all this up, he's the best player in the NFL. And we hear that all the time with these like super athletic, raw guys. We heard with Anthony Richardson, where it's like, damn, I mean, yeah, he hasn't really ever been good, and yeah, he only has 12 starts or whatever it is, and yeah, he's not shown us the ability to do any of this. But if we can get him there, if we can develop him and get him to that level, the traits are unstoppable. And I feel like that's how it is with Sellers, where you see him play and you're like, man, if you could just put it all together, this guy's Cam Newton. You know, like, this guy's unbelievable. But we've never seen him be able to do that. And, you know, are you going to take that at first overall? No. But if you take your pick at first overall, Sellers drops to 21, you trade back up, maybe that's the move.
The difference between that, you got to kind of figure out how to use your superpowers when hey, my legs are working, I'm just going to run down their throat. You know, I think he just kind of has to learn how to be like a football player more than just like a great athlete. And honestly, like, if I were him, I stay in, and I'm like trying to go to Miami and take Carson Beck's spot or go somewhere else, because I think their offense is kind of a mess too. But
Sellers, well, I mean, it's a sidebar, but like when they were talking about Beamer taking the Virginia Tech job, which could happen, like, all that could still happen or whatever, I had heard that Sellers was potentially going to transfer and then spend another year, but now I'm hearing he may go to the draft, so who knows? But he is a guy who it would be really, really smart for him to go play under a quarterback guy, whether that's at Louisville or whether that's at USC or wherever. But it would be really smart for him to go find a quarterback guru kind of coach, go play with whoever that is for a year, and then go to the pros. because if he rolled on over to USC and Lincoln Riley, does Lincoln Riley things, yeah, he could be the first overall pick. But right now, he's strictly potential.
I do think that they're going to be, they got to be looking. If they aren't looking, it's malpractice. Like if you're going to have a top 2-3 pick, which it seems like a lock at this point, and if you aren't evaluating, Tyler Shough against Dante Moore and Mendoza and Simpson and all these guys, I don't really know like what the direction of your team is at that point, because it's not just this might be the chance to get a top 10 guy, and I think. Look, let's say Shough ends up being the 18th best quarterback in the league. I think there's a massive difference between guy 10 and guy 18, or even, guy 5 and guy 18. Guy 10's what, Jared Goff, and guy 18's Kyler Murray. Like, it's a massive.
How insane is it that Kyler Murray's about to get benched? Kyler Murray signed a $250 million extension a couple years ago, and now he's about to get benched for Jacoby Brissett. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, I say this all the time. Teams are so desperate for their fans to believe they have a franchise quarterback that they will overpay Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, whoever, just to be like, no, guys, what do you mean? We have a franchise quarterback. He's right there. He's Trevor Lawrence. He's Kyler Murray. But it's like, man, these guys suck. These guys are horrible. So it is unbelievable how much you see that. But to go back to what Nick said, there's a huge difference. But man, is it hard to find those guys. I mean, I was just having this conversation about C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's awesome, right? Awesome prospect. Came in, had an incredible rookie year. And I would say most people think he's still a high-end starter, but a lot of people think he's middle of the road. And Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, right now they don't seem like they're where C.J. Stroud was. And that's not to say they can't be or anything like that, but even when you think you got it, all of a sudden you cannot. I use Mac Jones all the time as an example. New England thought they had it after his rookie year. And then next thing you know, Bailey Zappi starting. So it is so hard to find your franchise quarterback. And I'm not saying Kellen Moore and them are doing this, but if you pigeonhole yourself to where it's like we have a top 3 pick, we have to take a quarterback. We have to make one of these quarterbacks work. One of these quarterbacks has to be our franchise guy. I went to a high school. My graduating class was like 49 students. Small Catholic high school in South Mississippi. And I remember everyone was talking about getting married or whatever to their like high school sweethearts. And even back then, I remember thinking, what are the odds? Because there's only like 50-50, right? So 50-50 split between boys and girls in the class. So there's only like 25-ish, 24-ish girls in the class. What are the chances that out of those 24, you find like the perfect match, soulmate, whatever? And if you think about it like that, it's like, yeah, it's horrible odds. There's horrible odds that you're going to find like your forever, wedding or marriage partner in your high school sweetheart in a class that small. And that's how I feel about the quarterback class. That was an insane metaphor. I mean, you talk about football on the brain. Who else can do it like me? But that's how I feel about the quarterback class in a lot of drafts. I feel like they're looking at 10 guys, and they're like, all right, well, one of these guys has to be the franchise quarterback, so which one is it? It's like, well, what are the odds there any given year that one of 10 guys at the top of Mel Kiper's big board is not only going to be good, but be like generational or a franchise guy? It's hard enough to just find a good quarterback, much less a franchise quarterback. And, this year especially, it kind of feels like that Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder year where it's like, yeah, these guys are all right. These guys are good. They probably are the best quarterbacks currently in college, but are they first overall picks? Are they franchise quarterbacks? Or are they just the current crop of good college quarterbacks?
It's a difference. If you have a chance to upgrade that position, like you have to be taking it, deadly seriously. So I would imagine they're in that market again this year if this doesn't look like it's going anywhere. And even if it is decent, like I still think you got to say, hey, like,
oh yeah,
which way which way's better here. So yeah, I think they're definitely going to be looking.
Is there a chance that they kind of look at the way quarterbacks have gone the last couple of years in terms of these reclamation projects and say, actually, the best use of the first overall pick, if we end up with that, is trade down, take the haul, try and fix the team first, and then look for our Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Like, let's try and find our reclamation guy that can step into a good situation, as opposed to, yeah, we just upgraded the quarterback, but the situation still isn't good enough for this guy to succeed right now, and we just do the same old dance that, you know, teams have been doing at the top of the draft for years.
100%. And it depends on the class. And man, I hate being right all the time, but how many times have I told y'all that taking a quarterback in the top 5 of the draft is not correlated to winning at all? Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts are the perfect example of that. They have a top 5 pick. They take Richardson. He is absolutely horrible. He's on the bench. They get Daniel Jones. They're the best team in football. Zero correlation. Completely wasted pick, and no one cares about it. How many people have you heard that are mad at in Indy that they took Anthony Richardson? They don't care at all. Why? Because they're the best team in the NFL. Who cares? Daniel Jones is the MVP right now. Doesn't matter. So when people are like, I can't believe we wasted a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick on this player. If you're good, no one cares. All right? Indy tried to force a franchise quarterback. In today's NFL, if the quarterback is there, if the generational talent that you're in love with that can change your franchise is there, take them. Because having a big-time quarterback is the most important thing you can do. If they are not there, then pretty obvious, there are a ton of viable quarterbacks out there. You fill the rest of your roster up. You exist. You get talent elsewhere. You go get a journeyman who can just hold things together that fits your system, whether it's Joe Flacco in Cincy or Jacoby Brissett in Arizona or Mac Jones in San Francisco or Daniel Jones in Indianapolis or Sam Darnold in Minnesota. We've seen it over and over and over. All right, these are guys who just fit the system. They can play within the system, build the rest of the team, and then go from there. And yeah, I think the Saints should do that. Now, who is that quarterback? Depends on Kellen Moore's system. Depends on what he wants to do, right? But I would rather build the roster. If a quarterback is not there that you love, build the roster, let a journeyman just kind of manage the team until you find your guy. But yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I think that's hugely possible. It's something that they've talked about. Kellen Moore's talked about quite a bit. Like he points to those guys all the time, and he's constantly pointing out how that's kind of the trend of the season, the trend of the league, and all that stuff. And he's young, obviously, but he's like he's a modern thinker of the game. He talks about it, much in the same way like when I listen to you guys. Like he just feels like somebody that grew up with all the stuff we grew up with, and kind of has that viewpoint on things. So definitely.
By the way, why is that the current trend in the NFL? I mean, it's easy to figure out. Defenses are playing in a certain way that quarterbacks that don't understand the defense or can't read the defense or don't understand the blitz, or they're not picking up what's going on, really struggle. On the flip side, defenses are taking away the big plays. So the quarterbacks who rely on raw ability or some kind of physical trait or whatever, it's not working either. What you need right now is a quarterback who can understand what they're seeing, make the smart throw, and do it over and over and over and over and over again. And all of a sudden, that's when you see Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco. You see these guys who is like, hey, man, all I'm asking you to do is dissect this, run our offense, and take what they give you. I'm not asking you to be Cam Newton. I'm not asking you to be Brett Favre or John Elway. I'm not asking you to do any of that. Just kind of take what's there and move and go ahead. Like we see it all the time now where a quarterback will light it up and end up with like 230 yards of offense or 230 yards passing because all they're doing is taking the underneath. The fields are way shorter because of the kickoff. Kickoffs now start at the 30, 35, and 40. It used to start at the 20. So instead of having 80 yards you had to move around, now all of a sudden a quarterback's only really navigating like 40 yards of the field, 50 yards of the field. Kickers now can kick from 60 with ease. So even that side of things where it's like, look, we're in field goal range. Don't do anything dumb here. Take the points. That's leading to these cerebral kind of quarterbacks having a resurgence. And all of a sudden now, Joe Flacco could look like he did until he got hurt. And he's just lighting it up. And he's just putting the ball where it has to be and taking what the defense is giving him. And that's why you're seeing quarterbacks like Kyler Murray struggle, because he's trying to do all the stuff that he does in his own, like, you know, he's so athletic and all that stuff, but none of it matters, none of it's working. It's a very interesting time at the QB position.
Something that I think that they'll be looking at is well. I mean, that's definitely on the table. And yeah, look, they need everything. Like, if we did an exercise right now and said, like, one guy's doing the it's an expansion draft and one person's protecting players and one person's drafting players, like, from the rest of the league, I don't know if you get to a Saint, like, you know, and I don't know if there's anyone that you'd be like, we have to protect this player, absolutely cannot lose him. It's just kind of where it's at. It's kind of hard to get to the position they're in right now too. Like, they don't have star players. Their best player right now might be Chase Young. And outside of that, it's like, you know, Calvin Banks and Tali Puaga, who have shown promise, but, you know, in that expansion draft exercise, like, you aren't getting to them. And going on from there, like, I don't know who you'd take or who you'd protect, or, you know, even with the trade deadline, who's untouchable. I don't think they have a single player where you're like, oh no, they can't trade him.
But it's like he said, not only is it who's untouchable, but you also don't have players who people want. You know, it's like no one's untouchable. Everyone's up for sale. But then it's like, well, no one wants to buy. It's like, well, damn it. Now we're stuck. All right. Like, it's just a weak roster. They just need so much. And they can get it. Like, you can get it quick. You can get it in one or two drafts. I mean, we'll see what happens with this draft class, but a lot of those players are already showing potential. Next year, you do the same thing. You bring in a crop of guys who can play immediately. All of a sudden now, you have this influx of 10, 12 players who are really making impacts. You do that a couple of years over, okay, now you have a talented roster.
Like, they all could go. So, yeah, if there's a trade down scenario and you do, like, actually have the Daniel Jones type player there, definitely something that I think you have to consider, because, like, you need everything across the board right now.
You're a pro, Nick. I was going to ask you about the trade deadline next, particularly the receiver names that have come up. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. We call him the great Rashid Shaheed, even if he's not having as dominant a season as he usually has. Who are you hearing? Who's on the market here? And do you think the Saints would part ways with one or both of those receivers, or do they need to be a part of this rebuild?
I don't think Olave makes sense unless you get a deal that's too good to pass up. You don't get better by trading away all of your good players all of the time. You have to have talented players to build on. I think Olave is a talented player. I think you should keep him. Is he a one? Is he your dominant receiver? No. But having him in the receiver room, I'll take it. Rashid Shaheed, I would not re-sign for a multitude of reasons. Because of that, I think you look to trade him. You want to get something for him. Get something for him before he walks, all right? On the other side of the ball, I think Demario Davis makes the most sense. He's older, big contract. He probably is the only player that another team would actually want. You do have Danny Stutzman. You do have some young linebackers. Could move off of him. Beyond that, I don't really see anybody that I know the reports that Cesar Ruiz, people are asking about him. I have a sneaky feeling his agent is leaking those reports. But if somebody came in and say, hey, we'll give you a blank round pick for Cesar, okay, sure, see you later. Same thing with Trevor Penning, but I mean, LOL.
Yeah, I think they'd be willing to part with him if the compensation's right. Especially Shaheed, he's a free agent after this year. If you could, I don't know, lock in the fourth, like, that's probably what they would get back in a comp pick if he were to leave. I think they would do it, because then you can go out and you can spend your money. You aren't worried about protecting that asset. So I think they would definitely do it with him. Brandon Cooks is someone that I could definitely see getting traded too. You know, I don't even understand how he fits. I think it'd be the fifth time. He just doesn't fit this team. Like, they signed him when they had Derek Carr still, and then Carr retires, and it's just like, oh.
It is kind of funny because Cooks is kind of sneaky, been our best receiver, just like on a per play basis. Like, he's the guy who, when they throw to him, I feel the most confident about.
Okay, like, Brandon Cooks is here. Why? And he just, you know, good player, good leadership. But I just don't think he fits what they're doing. I don't think you need three guys that are like the exact same body type of receiver. It'd be a tough trade to let Shaheed go for a fourth, because for some weird reason they gave up a fourth for Devon Bailey, who has 39 yards, I think, in half a season. Very, very odd trade to make, but I don't think you can really let that influence, like, your return on your player, even because you screwed up this trade. But yeah, I think both those guys could go. Pete Werner's another one that I kind of got an eye on, the linebacker. They signed him to an extension last year, and they've just been trying to work in Danny Stutzman, their 5th-round pick this year, and Isaiah Stallbird, UDFA, they like a lot. Kind of been taking stops from Werner to get those guys on the field. So writing kind of seems to be on the wall there that they want to go another direction. And, I think Werner has some type of value probably to somebody in the league.
Last thing I wanted to ask about Mickey Loomis, general manager, and just the general team building strategy. Of course, the Saints, unique in how they've attacked everything in the last decade plus. They had Drew Brees. They went all in. They had fewer draft picks than everybody. They had a stretch of time where they had fewer draft picks but hit at a higher rate, which the nerds would say, well, that's not sustainable. You got to draft in volume. You can't always bank on your evaluations. They've slowed down in their hit rate in recent years when it comes to the draft. And then there was a point where it's like, all right, we don't have the veteran quarterback anymore. We're in rebuild mode. Are they really in rebuild mode? Still feels like they've been a little half in, half out, and they're not. Are they finally going to be at this point where it's like, we're going to draft 12 times over a 2-year stretch and really rebuild this thing? Or is there still like a little 1 foot in, 1 foot out when it comes to Mickey and the way they're handling things in the front office?
Yeah, they just did that. We already have the answers to those questions, right? We just saw them draft a ton of players, not move around at all. They are actively in a rebuild. Pretty obvious. Yes, they are in a rebuild.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, I think people would probably be surprised to know that they got the same record as the Browns since 21. Like, so it really has not been. It really has not been going well. The last 8 drafts really have not went well. I don't think they've had a good draft since 17. Really, the only first-round pick they've hit on since then is Olave, and he has injury issues, and he's kind of having a weird season right now. So that's even kind of, the hit rate for where they picked him. I don't know if it's hit as hard as it should have, even though I think, on any Sunday, like, he does look great sometimes. But, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think that's going to be determined with the draft, because that's really where we see it, like this penchant for just always moving up every single year. It looks to me like they're kind of into the rebuild right now, but again, it's a reluctant rebuild. Like, they did not plan to get here. Derek Carr suddenly retires, has the injury, and then they're forced to move on. And look, they that kind of worked out for him the way it played out, because you got to do the June 1st thing, and then he leaves, you get the money back. Like, they had the luckiest cap management in the world with that situation. But like, this was not a, hey, we're moving on from Derek Carr and getting younger. Like, this was, Derek Carr left, and we had just signed Brandon Cooks, and we had just signed Justin Reed, and like, now it's kind of like this weird build of a roster, and it's the reluctant rebuild. But I think now that they're here, like, they're forced to go into it. I think Tuesday is going to be interesting to see kind of what they do. Because I think you have to move a couple pieces and get a couple assets back, even if it's just like the Lattimore trade from last year, where it's one thing and you get a couple.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if they didn't move anybody.
Couple picks. But look, the first move they made in this rebuild is sending a 4th and a 7th to Denver for Devon Bailey, which, 27 years old, 1 year with Sean Payton. Like, they should know what Sean does with receivers. Like, it kind of felt like, are they trading for Marquez Callaway? And it turns out like it's not even that right now. There's a half a season left. Maybe he has better chemistry with Shough. Maybe he gets going, but that felt like a weird move, at the beginning of it, which kind of, if you're looking for a, like, hey, one direction, one point of view, like, going to do this the right way, that was one where I think you have a little bit of apprehension about the thought process behind some of this stuff. So, the draft, I think, is going to be the big tell. And if they don't trade up for someone somewhere, it would probably be the biggest upset of all time, because that's what they always do.
Somebody tie Mickey's hands, man. Don't let them trade up.
Except last year, of course.
This time.
Is there a world where Mickey Loomis is under any kind of pressure for his job? Because, for years the Saints had this approach of all in, max out the credit card. Let's try and get one last championship out of the Drew Brees era. Obviously that's gone now. As you said, there's been this sort of weird, they tried to do the competitive rebuild thing, or at least just let's stay pretty good with Derek Carr. Now they've been forced into a slightly different world, and that's potentially going to lead them to the number 1 overall pick. And nobody ever talks about, like, why a lot of other places the GM gets fired in that scenario. Like, is that on the table at all for the Saints, or is Mickey Loomis just there as part of the furniture?
The It's just different than everywhere else in the NFL. It just operates. It just does. Like, it's just different than anywhere in the league. I would have to say no. Like, I don't see it. But I also, it's hard to sit here and ponder a reality where this doesn't work and this coaching staff doesn't work and you're still doing it the same exact way. I think what would have to happen, like if there were ever to be a move, is I think it would probably have to be reflected in the stands. And when it becomes a business decision over like just a pure football thing, I think that's where it would happen. But the one thing I would point out is that Gail Benson is the one who forced the firing of Dennis Allen last year. Had to tell them, hey, look, this is happening. You're going to do it. Nobody else in the building wanted to do it. And it happened that way. So I can't say it's completely impossible because we know, at least in a certain situation, that the owner will move. But it's weird. And it makes it very, very hard to cover because it's just like it's not a normal situation. Like the normal storylines, the normal timetables of
it's not normal at all.
The 31 other teams, like it just isn't that way here. And I don't know how you can have the last 8 years and it's literally all the same exact people. Like it's just not a normal front office. It's not a normal ownership group. It just works differently here. And I'm trying to figure it out myself. Like I don't understand it all the time either. Like there's just things that happen where you're like, man, is this all right? Like, and it's just the same thing. It just keeps going.
I was about to plug you as no one is as plugged in as Nick.
Well, look, nobody knows
in
anything,
New Orleans. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing
everybody
here.
Else. Yeah.
You're as plugged in as anyone, though.
He's the least confused person that covers the Saints. Let's put
it. Look, it just is though. Like it's just all the time I see these lists like Saints GM on the hot seat. It's like no, he isn't. Like it just I don't think
basically
he can get hot. Like it's just different than other places. But yeah, I mean, look, I think he has to hit on this one, or it's just like, what are you doing here? Like you can't.
Yeah, you can't fail twice like this. You can't spectacularly fail twice.
You can't have another failed regime, and it just kind of keeps going as it's going.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, we appreciate the time. Be sure to check out Nick Underhill and all his work at New Orleans football. You're doing a great job there. Keep it up, and yeah, man, we'll do it again sometime. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much, Nick.
All right, fellas, see y'all later.
Been wanting to have Nick on for a while here.
Yeah. He's great.
There's a couple people like Matthew Collar, who we have, who covers the Vikings, a couple people who went independent and went out on their own and have done a great job. And we can relate to those going out on their own.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I agree.
Huge respect for what he's doing as an independent, you call
him
at one point.
Yeah.
Like Notre Dame. Just out here,
No
going toe-to-toe with the big boys, but on his own in a fan.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, awesome what he's doing. Him, Matthew Collar, like all those guys that have decided
the hell's Matthew Collar?
As you said, independent beat writers. Huge amount of respect for those guys. Thanks for watching all the way to the...
Interesting. All right, good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think. Under an hour. I'll see you in the next video.